I was like,
I know, I was like, is he gonna do it?
Is he gonna do it?
Because it
I don't know.
felt so, like, not too good to be true because it's A24, but it's...
Mr. Reed, he's such a nice, likable guy. And I think that is problematic in life, you know?
There was a switch where his humor changed because Hugh has such specific humor.
Oh, which door?
It's a simple choice, but it should not be made simply. Belief or disbelief.
What happens if we choose the wrong door?
I had such a fun time with this film, and, you know, I imagine it must have been a great script to read when you first got your hands on it, because there's so much dialogue and so many twists. So I wonder if you could both just kind of outline your first reactions when you first were reading through the script for the first time.
The first time I read the script, it almost reminded me of a Tom Stoppard play. It felt like a play because the scenes are so long, and that was exciting to me, but also scary because I didn't know how they were going to pull it off. But yeah, I grew up Mormon, so it did feel kind of like a full circle moment, and seeing that it was A24, I knew that it was in good hands, so immediately I kind of knew I had to do it.
Yeah, I went in pretty skeptical reading the script, just because it is about two Mormon missionaries, sister missionaries. I think I just assumed it was some statement about Mormon church, and I didn't know that the movie was going to be what it ended up being, which I think is a very open discussion on faith, and not even religion itself, but more faith in general. And so yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a missionary. I have a lot of friends who went on missions. And yeah, like Sophie was saying, I was really intrigued by it, feeling like a play, and I could tell it was gonna be shot on a soundstage, so I'm like, same call time, temperature control, like that all sounds amazing. So that, yeah, it kind of checked all the boxes.
And did you know at that point when you were reading the script that Hugh Grant was attached to play Mr. Reed? Because it's now kind of it's difficult to imagine almost anyone else playing that role because he does it so well. But at what point did you guys find out that it was going to be him?
I think it was always Hugh. I don't think it was like ever like officially declared that it was Hugh. But I remember my agents like throwing around his name and maybe throwing around one other name.
But I didn't believe it. I was like,
I know, I was like, is he gonna do it?
Because
it felt so like not too good to be true because it's A24, but it's, I don't know, it almost felt, because he's so, I don't know, he's so huge that it felt surreal.
Yeah, totally. You're like, wait, this is what we're making, and yeah, of course they want a big name to, you know, be Mr. Reed. I just didn't, I don't know, I was like, it's not gonna be Hugh. I didn't really believe it.
You mentioned how you were both brought up Mormon, and I wondered if there was any kind of particular small details that you were able to draw on from your own experiences that you brought to these characters that maybe other actors who haven't had your own experience might not have been able to bring to the characters.
I mean, you were very good with like improvising very specific things. I would, the biggest thing for me when I was younger was just saying, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So anytime I could throw that in, I would just throw in an oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's definitely like little things, and especially when we were improvising, like I felt like I knew a lot of hymns from growing up, and,
you were
and some things. But I was asking my friends that were on missions at the time, like, hey, is there a scripture I could read for this improv? And she gave me a scripture to memorize, and you know, it's in the movie, and I think it's like honestly perfect for the movie because it kind of sums up what happens.
It was perfect.
It was really perfect. I'm like, she needs a credit. But yeah, I mean, just like little things, and being very apologetic and a people pleaser, and thinking the best of people, because I don't think skepticism is on the top of their mind. They will literally talk and teach to anyone.
You mentioned how the film asks interesting questions about not just specifically religion, but faith more generally. And I wondered if you had interesting conversations amongst each other or with Scott and Brian or with Hugh on set the film. Was that something you'd kind of talk about between takes?
Not fully. I think it was more of a conversation had beforehand with, for me, it was like with my boyfriend, with my mom, because it naturally brings up those conversations, but I think when you're really in it and you're hearing the dialogue so much, it's like you're already thrown into that headspace that you don't want to further it too much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
think with Mr. Reed, he's such a nice, likable guy. And I think that is problematic in life, you know, not even, you know, trusting someone, belief in general, not even the religious umbrella, but I think a lot of times there's very nice presenting people who you feel like you could trust, and those are the ones you got to be most careful about. So I think I mean, I talked a little bit about that of like, yeah, Mr. Reed's so nice, which is alarming.
Yeah, and Hugh Grant is so brilliantly sinister in the role. He kind of, weaponizes that charm he's got really well for the character. What was it like to watch him deliver some of these monologues that he did and kind of react to them? And would he kind of throw in improvisation there as well? Would he kind of say the lines as you'd already read in the script? What was it like to watch him at work?
He would change it up a lot and throw in little quirks and like strange mannerisms, and
Everyone loves I've Never Had a Wendy. And
I forgot that was
him.
improvised. Like
Yeah.
these little clever moments that just like brought up the character even more so and made him stranger and more charming in a way, but also more off.
Right.
But yeah, it was just like, because these scenes are so long, I was really grateful that he was able to change it up and keep us really present and keep us really engaged. He would ask us questions to make sure that we were actually listening, because when you're in these scenes, it's so easy to fake listen, but you really had to be there. Because, I mean, of course the camera sees it, but he was checking in to make sure that we were there with him.
How quickly would he kind of snap from, you know, being in the role to then just back to Hugh Grant on set? What was it like to kind of go from doing those scenes where he is playing the sinister character just to then hanging around with him?
It was very immediate, which
Yeah.
I think created an ease on set
I would
and
not want
a method.
Yeah,
But
no.
you
But
do
also,
what you gotta
Mr.
do.
Reed is never like explicitly sinister. Like he's kind of
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, a nice, charming guy who says some things that make you stop in your tracks. So I think, if maybe I could overthink it and be like, well, he's just nice to me now because he is Mr. Reed and he is trying to pull me in. But
No, but he like, there was a switch where his humor changed, because Hugh has such specific humor that like as soon as the camera was done rolling, he kind of just like switched back into that and was a lot more grounded and less like presentational, because Mr. Reed is so presentational. He's like a professor, and then Hugh himself is very, maybe like more inward.